Alright, what's good, y'all? Um, this is my first little video breakdown. I don't really have anything like scripted or planned. We're just gonna talk about this monstrosity of a project. So, I wrote this initially back in January 2024. I'll play a little bit of the first draft version of Residence, but basically, I decided to revisit this track back in October, and it was just a completely different vibe. I started out with this drum break from Tammuz. Can I not hear it? Okay, what's going on? Oh yeah, I forgot. Masters automated. Yeah, this is a really good start to the fucking to the damn breakdown video. So really, this drum break right here is the foundation of this track. Because I already had the bass line down pretty much to a T. Oh wait, hold on. There we go. I had the bass line down pretty much to a T because that was literally all I had in mind in regards to just a track at the time, basically. Sorry, talking's not my strong suit, so just bear with me. Uh, So, we got a little bit of piano bass going on. And this was literally the bass line that I had in mind from January of 2024 when I first started working on it. Oh yeah, you don't need that. We don't need that metronome on. So I decided to layer that up with a synth bass. This is what I'm using is Peculiar Sounds. Luckily, you can see it. You can see all the plugins that I bought and that I actually use. That's pretty cool. I wanted to make sure that I had a really good like amount of memory because that was my issue. There's no way in hell I was going to be able to record this with 8 gigabytes of RAM. But now I got 32 and this is a little bit more manageable. Let me just make sure that this is recording. Okay, cool. Yeah, my method of recording is also not that great, but we make it work. So with that, with the drums and the whole bass line, you kind of get this nice little groove going on. Hold on. Yeah, that idea stuck for a really long time. Like I said, this project is from October. Oh yeah, October of 2024. So this was like a couple months after I made the no, not a couple. I'm underemphasizing like about 9 months after I made the draft version and kind of just left it there. Right here's the piano. I'm using the good old bread and butter right here. If it'll load. And there we go. Keyscape. So something I actually learned, softest is usually the preset I go with. I take off the reverb. This is, oh wow, the velocity curve is actually where it isn't usually. So, yeah, this is like the default velocity curve. I guess I kept it there. Usually when I'm recording keys, I like to just have my velocity curve a little bit more down to kind of hit the keys a little bit more if I'm trying to emphasize on something. It's just really I don't know. It's just something I work with, but I guess for the purpose of this song, it was somewhere around here. And then the release noise is all the way down. I've learned that little trick from Anomaly. Just have the release noise down, and you get this nice dry piano with a really tight release too. So like, if I were to the buffer rate or the latency on this is gonna be throwing me off a little bit because I am recording everything and playback is at a buffer rate of like what 1024. So yeah, latency is gonna be really bad for me, but you can pretty much hear how dry this is. Very like the release is dry. Like rather if I were to have this all the way up, you kind of get a little bit of that the remnants of the string resonance from the key, like hitting the keys. So having that all the way down, it's just dry. It works better for me. So adding, the piano into everything else. I think another thing I want to point out too is that after implementing the drums and the bass, there's really no need to have this metronome because it was just gonna throw off everything for me. So if I go over here or something and just turn the metronome on, for example. Like it's cool. It keeps a pretty steady pace to a certain extent, but I kind of want to see what I could do in terms of chords. So the chords aren't really together in terms of the metronome as the drums and the bass are. Like there's a little bit of there's a little bit of a trip. Like if you were to like trip on your own laces, for example, I guess that's the best way I can describe it right now because I'm doing some mad impromptu speaking. Again, nothing is just scripted. I'm going through this breakdown as if I am just regularly talking to someone about this track and just going through it. So if I were to add to solo the piano and put the metronome on, it's not hitting on one, like not exactly. It's like if I were to clap, for example, and it's just like a little bit after the one, like on the and damn near, and like a little bit of a grace note going on, almost a grace note rhythm. That's why I turned off the metronome because I knew that shit was just gonna throw me off. And then you got the electric bass right here. I'm using Trillion for the muted bass. So basically, that was the whole, CPU overload. Let's see if I can bypass some shit real quick. What the hell do I have? You know what? I'm not going to even trip. Maybe it's just named something else. But, you got this going on. That's basically, the skeleton. It's basically the skeleton of, Residence. And then the thought came in mind was just like, okay, how am I going to make this track sing out a little bit more? So obviously the first thing that came in mind was a melody. I'm gonna need a melody because all this was not gonna suffice. It's not gonna suffice for me, especially since I'm trying to make something. So what I did is the sign is basically playing the solo or the melody basically. And then it plays it again. It just fits so nicely with everything else. Got autosave on, so that's why I froze for a second. So there's 3 OBXD signs from I think J3PO's sound bank. So yeah, again, Soundwave, nothing too crazy going on. The only thing I really did was put the tune up a little bit because this is recorded in 450. Something about me is I tend to usually record stuff in 430 or 450 there's very rare chances that I record anything on standard tuning. Standard tuning, so A equals 440 hertz. Nah, I don't tend to do that. For some reason, it's just everything sounds warmer or cooler if I'm just recording everything like at 430 hertz or 450 hertz. So, we're kind of going one by one. Luckily enough, I tried to do my best in organizing this project file because this was not organized the last time I opened it up. So, everything is pretty much named except for the effects that are kind of just numbered because I honestly do not feel like organizing the effects, knowing how many effects are in here and just how many tracks are also in here. That was already hell enough to organize. And we're just adding everything else as well. So got some arpeggios. This is consolidated. This is like a culmination of a couple VSTs. And if my memory serves correctly, I think I'm using the CS80V from V Collection. So that's Arteria, and I feel like I'm using something else, but I don't necessarily remember the VST I was using. It might be another CS80V, but don't quote me on that. This is from Peculiar Sound. This is just a glide saw synth. With Peculiar Sound, I know the reason why I got its I know the reason why I got its VST was because I was very fascinated by the glide synths that they were offering. And plus I got it, for $200, I wanted to give it a shot, and it was very cool that I got it. I think when I got Peculiar Sounds, I was like, yeah, let me work on this track again. I think that's the reason why I wanted to work on this. So, yeah, that might be the reason if my memory serves correctly. Both these pads are from Playbox, Native Instruments Playbox Contact Library. So over here, I got Valhalla Vintage Verb from. I think I need to freaking update this. It's been a while since I updated my freaking presets and stuff. Okay, my question is, I did some weird shit. I don't. This should be up on the. This should be after or before the limiter. But yeah, all that freaking reverb is doing all the work. No pre-delay. The mix is only at 30 because the Playbox preset that I was using. So oftentimes when I'm using Playbox, what I'll do is I'll put the chords down, and it kind of works like it's better if I show y'all. I don't know if I have it though, but Playbox is really cool because you can basically just randomize different sounds and presets and effects to get something that's pretty satisfiable. I mean, I can't speak. Yeah, all those textures and stuff that came straight from Playbox. So, oh yeah, this is my little guitar strum plugin. This is MIDI Soul Guitars. I got this a long time ago. It didn't cost that much, but at that time, I wanted something that sounded really good, and it was really hard for me to describe like stuff like hammer-ons to people, and I wanted to just create something like that I could just make on the spot, and if I wanted to, you know, ask somebody to play guitar on it, 9 times out of 10, I'll just show them this part. But for the purpose of this track, I was like, you know what? I don't need guitars. I got this on Guitar Rig 6. If it'll load, oh, there we go. Just a basic jazz amp. What's cool about this contact library too is that you got these chord modes, you got these chord extensions like inversions and stuff. So you can literally like change the key, like right here, and it'll just change the type of chord, or it wouldn't really change the type of chord, but it would just invert it a little bit. It will do a hammer on, or just some different stuff that you do. The pizzicato strings, that's from Symphony Ensemble. I just consolidated it because I really had to adapt to the fact that I was only using 8 gigs of RAM at the time when I was making it. So a lot of consolidation happened. But I'll do my best to try to name off the plugins or libraries that I was using or that were used. My signature Butterplucks, so we'll layer with that. So we got that happening. There's a little counter melody going on, after the sine lead plays its melody. So a nice little counter melody going on with all that chaoticness. It's just a nice little touch. Dun, 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 dun. Because, it's pretty staccato already as it is. So it's not going to leave a crazy, whole lot. But just having that there to kind of accommodate that space with the sine lead melody that's happening, it just spot on. Yeah, because again, all that color. It's just so clear that you can just hear it, and it's just like, oh, that's nice. So that's pretty much all of the A section, all that. Kind of going back to the intro, because what I did do is I didn't do anything crazy per se with the drums at the beginning, because nobody can play this. Nobody can play this. But I got it automated to Arturis EFX Motion. So it's doing all that crazy stuff for, I think, 4 counts, basically. I have to count for a second. It's completely different every time I press play. So it's going to get different results every time it goes through, and every time I export. It's not going to sound the same every time. That little drum part, it's not going to sound the same every time you export it. On to the B section. There's a lot to go over with the B section. So the B section actually was another loop that I had in mind, in terms of the chord progression at least. Nothing crazy, honestly, with the track that I was working on that had that same chord progression in it. So I was just like, you know what? Why not? Yeah, and a lot of the drum breaks, all that stuff, at least this part, a lot of Frankensteining had to happen with this. So, some of the fills, I really had to do my best with trying to find good fills and good drum one shots. I'll talk about that a little later, but just, in general, to try to get it to sound as much as a drum break as it could. all of us going through the same bus too. So we got drum shaper happening right here. And then compressor. And then just Pro Q3 to kind of EQ everything out, so the highs and lows, and then some resonating stuff that is so pleasing to the ear. All that bypass sounds like this. But now we get a sharper tone. We get the snare popping out a little bit with the help of drum shaper and the highs from the multiband compressor. And if I turn the metronome on, especially with the little like stabs that's happening in terms of the bass line and the piano. Oh Lord. Yeah, this track doesn't, or this project file doesn't really like the metronome all that much. So honestly, it's hard to really describe if this is hocketing or not, but this is probably the closest that it's going to get. It goes back. And then we got the so here's the funny thing about this. This is a clavinet from the same Keyscape plugin, but what I did is I put it through Guitar Rig. There it is. Mind you, I was working on this for about 5 months in school, so I really had to make what I do with everything that I could, especially with the little amount of time that I had to really work on this track. Same art and stuff. And then we're back to A. Literally, it's a repeated lay. The only thing that changes is the drums. And then we kind of get a little bit of a breakdown happening right here. It's only the piano bass and the synth bass that's playing right here. The pads from Playbox are still playing as well. We kind of get a little bit cheeky with this. So this is the CS80 pills. It kind of has a little bit of that I want to call it buoyancy. It kind of feels like it's bouncing like side to side, but it's just so slow compared to everything else. Because with the metronome, it just doesn't make sense. But we have this piano kind of accommodating it, because what I'm doing is just straight up arpeggios the whole time. It just kind of gives it some room to kind of be itself. It has its own identity. Damn, I can't speak. Identity for that little bit. That part you can thank my good buddy. His name is Regis. We performed this song live at November of 2024 down at this downtown Columbia, South Carolina, and that little he played that because again, this track was not the way that it was back then. um for some context, after I came back from Nam, this is when all this new stuff happened, like towards the end, all this stuff right here. Because this song was initially planned to be like a minute or two long. It was just gonna be an intro track. But I like as soon as I came back from Nam, I was like, wait a minute, this could be something else. This could definitely be something else. You also have the Mellotron flute as well. There's actually like a layered patch that I made from Patcher. I gotta find it. It's called Jetson. So we got Mellotron flute happening. Oh, you can't see it. Damn. Y'all can't see it, but it's Arturia's Mellotron 5 or V. I don't know why I called it 5. I just saw V and I thought of Roman numeral. And y'all can't also see this as well because of the patcher. But basically, this is if you remember Teletone Audio's Vespertone, I'm using their vibraphone library preset. So yeah, that is playing with that little melody line, the little counter melody. And then we got this bass line happening right here afterwards. I'd be damned if someone could actually play this. This is actually, I think I made a very difficult bass line without really thinking about the repercussions of someone could potentially want to play this live. And it might be impossible, but someone could correct me if, there's a possibility. There's just so much going on. It's really fast too. To be able to do this, like, I don't know, you could prove me wrong. Probably like on a 6 string. Then we got the piano just supporting it. Little melody feel right there. This is a part that got changed a lot because I didn't want to just repeat the A section again without it being a little bit different. So yeah, I recorded it softer. I recorded the piano softer because we actually do have a little clavinet solo. So remember when I was talking about how I put the clavinet through Guitar Rig? The issue is when I recorded this track where I was working on this project, I was using FL24, and for some reason on FL24 I didn't really necessarily have to go through a VST to have it bend the pitch wheel or just have it up. So it, it was bending on its own. So but now since I got 25, I have to probably re-record the pitch bend now. Cause it's pitch bending, but it wasn't pitch bending when I initially recorded it now, so it's kind of a bit wonky. So again, we got that little first half playing on the original stuff, and then it changes a little bit. So, just a little bit of, just to kind of dissect this little part. That was really cool. I don't know. I was initially going to put it like, towards that little bouncy part, that little breakthrough part. I was going to put it towards there, but I was just like, I don't know. It just didn't feel right putting it right there kind of giving it away, especially if I was going to repeat the A section again. Like, there's no point of doing that. Go back to A, and then what I did as well is I kind of did kind of some foreshadowing with the piano, because if you listen to the track, that's literally the same part as I just, add a little bit of some foreshadowing, being like, oh, this chord progression going to come back. And then right here as well, this was actually very difficult to do. So what I had to do is consolidate separate parts of the audio track again, just so I can pitch it up for that little part where it goes into that little. So yeah, everything also kind of got pitched up for a second. Yeah, all that stuff got pitched up. Because I needed it to go there, because if I played it the way it was, it's not only going to leave space, because I would have I would have deleted that if it was going to do that and just have it come back after 2 bars. But yeah, all that space for what? Nah, that would be stupid. So yeah, that's why I consolidated them again to have them be pitched up. So they're like 300 cents. That 300 cents up just for that little part. And I think this is also 300 cents. No changes to the drums as well. We also have this going on. This is if I didn't mention this before, this is from the Juno DS10, I believe. I have a couple of videos of me using it, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna see if I can find a couple sounds on there, and lo and behold, I did. So you'll hear some sounds from the Juno. You'll also hear some sounds from the subsequent 37 from Moog. I'm gonna say this one time because it's probably gonna be a minute until I get the album breakdowns going, because none of the tracks on the album are done yet. Just pay attention to this. Yeah, just pay attention to this. You're gonna want to remember this for future references. Let's talk about this. Oh wait, hold on. There is one more thing to talk about. I also got some guitar mute picks going on. Also got that little bit of bounce to it. Not gonna really be able to hear it because I bypassed all the all the mastering stuff as well. So, anything else to go through? Nope. We can move on to this little C section right here. I really thought about this part as kind of like realizing, because made this track to kind of represent my rage, this rage that's been in me for quite some time, as I let people just treat me the way that I didn't want to be treated. folks, I treat folks with respect. I have respect for people, just in general. But you really gotta do some dumb shit to piss me off. And as a senior, it was very difficult for me to really have to let things happen the way it did, because if I did it, I would have to basically just do everything over again. If you understand what I'm saying, because I was upset about a lot of things, and not being able to make music around those 3 months I was doing my last semester, man, that was difficult. So all this is kind of like, damn, I finally got out of that little funk, because as soon as we are able to kind of just get out of that, everything else builds with it. And this is what I was talking about, with the drums being like, okay, this is kind of weird. Now drums are being played through finger pads, so this is my little preset, that swang. So this is like a couple of presets to not presets, a couple one shots together, some claps, some rim shots. This is a nice little soft kick tone going on. I didn't use this, but it is a ghost note. Again, this is a preset I made on FPC. And then we got this ride cymbal happening. This is also from the Juno, so this little spooky synth, as I like to call it, because all that vibrato, but it's so pretty. GMS happening. So what I did on GMS is I just turned the arpeggiator on. What's cool about these presets, not presets, these plugins that I got, is that you got this little arpeggiator thing going on, so I randomized it. So any note is just randomized through a different range. You can also change the time or gate. Oh yeah, these are these effects I was talking about that I didn't name in terms of the tracking. You have a whole bunch of effects though that are just layered to create this impacts for when it's necessary. Whole bunch of lasers and bleep loops. A little fun fact about me, I like my bleep loops, so got that going on. Those Juno bells again. That's being layered with some other stuff. I gotta find that. So this little bell right here that I unfortunately forgot to name. This is also from the Juno. This is a very important one too, because it also, what I did was reverse this part, so you got this little really nice effect, especially for this part. And I know you heard that before because it was right here. So again, we're adding those little leitmotifs in there, and these melodies, these themes to just create this world of its own, basically. But getting a little bit ahead of myself. So this is everything pretty much in context. And now this is my favorite part of the entire track. Man, I just wanted to create something so impactful. So, we got the little Moog lead happening. And then this bass line is just I ain't gonna lie, this is the most beautiful bass line I've ever made in my life. And it's crazy too about this bass line is this bass line is the most like sloppiest thing ever. Cause if I were to play it with drums and then just put that sucker on a metronome, it's like, how do you even meter this? It just doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna play it without the drums. You hear how off that is with the it doesn't make any sense, but my idea is that kind of just rushing into it, and also helps because again with that little melody happening, it gives it just enough room to just breathe on its own. And the whole reverse effect too, it just doesn't make it seems like it's rushing, but with the little reverse effect happening with everything else, it almost sounds like it's supposed to do that. Because that whole little, those reversing transients that's happening, I feel like as if it's helping kind of create this reverse effect with the bass as well, with the whole bass line as well. Just amazing, man. I love this part so much. I'll turn the groove up a little bit too. Yeah, exactly. And then the guitar is also a little bit different as well. I consolidated this part because, again, I needed it to be a little bit different. It's a climax version, so it just fits so well. The piano is damn near the only thing that's just not any different. That's for later. And then again with the Rhodes is literally there for a brief second as well. The Rhodes, yeah, it's not a relevant sound that's within this track, but I definitely make it work for what it is. This is so beautiful. Yeah. And then those effects was, oh yeah, I did add a little tape stopper at the end as well. So I'm using just cassette transport. This is a free VST. So automated it. So it can stop before the lead comes back in. And it's like so quick that once it gets to the one, your only attention is really just on the Moog lead. Oh, we don't want that. Just you see how everything just comes into play and stuff. This part is insane for no reason whatsoever. So if I were to play it with the drums, it doesn't start on the one. just doesn't follow with the metronome at all. That's why we turned it off. So with that, sorry, I was yawning and just letting it play because it's such a good part. Got some cat synths happening. A whole bunch of layers. There's also a lot of this stuff is from the Juno as well. There's on the end. Oops, that's on the end of everything. But that's literally all it's doing. It was just weird when I was recording it, but I was like, you know what? Let me keep it. That's the same thing as the piano, so I'm layering that with the piano. And we got another one happening right here, which is, I think, a ninth. I think I'm playing the ninth with it as well. We got the B3 organ as well. Real churchy. Like, I've spent like the last 4 years very like surrounded with gospel music. So, I don't know, just having that little nod is just like, ooh, that just sends the song, that sends this track home. I wish my freaking CPU wasn't acting up. It just sounds like that. And then we got the guitar mute happening. I wanted the guitar to play for a little bit because I was just like, I was hearing this little like this melody. That's very like, it's got some remnants of gospel music in there. Like I just want to like almost like a praise break. And then we got that layering up with the Moog League as well. There's a sign Moog League that I found in terms of preset, and that's when everything else comes in. So that layered saw synth with the knife, that B3 as well. And then if I were to play with the metronome, it's like it's got it, and then everything just starts rushing. It's like we lost the plot with the metronome. So again, there's really no point in me recording with the metronome. Because for some reason, it just works without it. Yeah, and then we got all these effects right here. So, again, we got this little pad happening. Just to talk about the effects real quick before I wrap everything up. Oh, yeah, and then we got also turn on the automation because we have it slowly coming up. So yeah, we got this scratch happening before the little kick. kind of give you a sense of, oh, this is, this is about to start, and that this is kind of setting off the pace. But there's a lot of just these nuances of effects and textures happening at that time. So we got these radio comms happening.
402's radar contact at 18.
Basically, I wanted to just create this atmosphere. Like, just, I don't know. I always had a thing with just adding radio comms, like this whole bunch of chaoticness, almost just, again, this atmosphere of the sci-fi atmosphere that I've been kind of giving in terms of just me being Synced Audience. And plus, it all that chatter and stuff, that's really what it felt like when I was going through the stuff that I was going through. So again, we talked about the lasers, just implementing them in the right places. We also got this little turntable part going on because, honestly, like, anybody can recognize that bass line pretty good without, without me having to add everything else. But, for the sake of trying to keep everything in depth, I wanted to just add a little bit of some record scratch in there to basically pay homage to that boom bap, scratch shit that I used to, make and stuff. So yeah, that's literally all there is to Resonance. When I was making it, it took me about, if we want to count January, it took me about a year and some change just to make this one song. Because I don't know, I just wanted to give it as much love as I possibly could, and with everything that I was learning, I also wanted to implement it. Like, I promise you, when the context is given, you'll know exactly why this track became one of my favorites that I've ever made in my 10 years of creating music. Like, absolutely. um so I appreciate y'all tuning in to this little video breakdown. I know it wasn't necessarily the greatest, but this is room for trial and error, obviously. That I'm definitely going to keep in mind, and I'm hoping that I get some feedback to make these next future video breakdowns a little bit better for y'all, in terms of experience, because I want to make sure that I'm informing y'all about how, my thought process is whenever I'm going into a track. So, yeah, leave a like, tell your friends, like and subscribe. Damn, I already said that. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a little bit more developed the next time, but just a little bit of a test drive for Resonance. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you all later.